I'm Daniel Casella, president of ATU Local 726 in Staten Island, New York. This video you're about to watch is the history of ATU 726 dating back to 1916. I want to thank Stuart Ransom for his dedication to this video and numerous hours of putting this together. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the ride.
100 years ago this August, in the city of New York, a group of working men banded together to afford themselves some protection against the whims of trolley and streetcar owners in Richmond County. They had names like Finnegan, Gabby, Suter, and Curry. They were drivers and mechanics employed by the privately owned transit lines serving the city's smallest borough. They were workers employed in an industry which a few decades before had better working conditions for the mules who pulled the trolleys than the men who drove them. The mules were changed every 3 hours while the men worked 18 straight hours in an open car, unprotected from the elements. If you wanted to know why the post office invented the slogan, "Neither rain nor snow," it was because the mailman took the trolley. Emma Lazarus must have had these men in mind when she penned The Golden Colossus, when she wrote, "Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free." She could have been writing about the founders of our local. These were men from the old country, to be sure. They were heeding Tennyson's advice to seek a newer world. Although they arrived here from all over the globe and had language and cultural differences which the bosses brutally used to divide them, he recognized that a trade union would be their salvation and preserve their dignity as working men. Until they started Division 726 of the Amalgamated Association of Street and Electric Railway Employees of America, the men could be fired on a moment's notice by the bosses. Michael Finnegan was president of Local 726 when 375 men struck against the Richmond Light and Railway Company. This was also the firm which provided all the electricity for the island, and the trolley driver strategy was to get the powerhouse workers to walk out in sympathy, which unfortunately never happened. The men walked off the job on April 27, 1920, demanding an increase from 40 and 45 cents an hour to 75 cents an hour. Finnegan said his men were asking for a raise to bring Staten Island salaries up to par with the rest of the city. The company's position, naturally, was that it needed higher fares to meet the demands which Mayor Hyland, a bitter foe of the traction interests, refused to approve. Hyland proclaimed, "I'd rather go to jail," before granting an increase. Finnegan, one of the founders of Local 726, told the New York Times, "It is not our fault that this strike came off. We have given the railway officials every chance to play fair with us. We called a special meeting in the hope that officials of the road might attend and suggest some ways that an amicable settlement of the men's claims be brought about. But the officials never showed up." Finnegan was amenable to arbitration, suggesting that a settlement be left in the hands of the committee appointed by Mayor Hyland. Meanwhile, the city added 55 buses to take the place of the trolleys which were operated by the Midland Railway. Midland had given up its franchise when it wasn't granted the fare increase. The strikers, who met in Emerald Hall in New Brighton, later Hibernian Hall, and now a Baptist church, indicated a willingness to compromise at 65 cents an hour instead of 75. In addition, they were asking for an 8-hour workday and time and a half overtime. The railway officials offered a 5-cent an hour increase, which was rejected by the workers. Borough President Van Name's only comment, according to the Times, was, "These things must happen." The New York Times reported that the strikers were unsuccessful in persuading the non-union drivers of the added city buses to quit if the city would not allow them to charge a 10-cent fare. The Times said, "There is little strike sentiment among the bus drivers. Private cars and jitneys started running illegally along city streets to service the riders." Grover Whalen, Commissioner of Plants and Structures, recommended to the Board of Estimate that the city take over the trolley lines and electric company. Public Service Commissioner Lewis Nixon said, "The people of Staten Island have been greater sufferers from transportation failures than residents of any other section of the city." The strike was settled on May 5th after Nixon drew an order permitting Richmond Light to charge an 8-cent fare. The men settled for 60 cents an hour. Whalen immediately challenged this order, saying the Public Service Commission had no authority to raise fares. Later in June, the city pulled buses off the road when Brooklyn Traction Companies obtained a federal court order prohibiting the city from running buses on streets where trolley lines were operating. The Times said, homeward-bound commuters held impromptu indignation meetings, and many resolved to go home by train and suffer the inconvenience of a long walk from the station, rather than pay an 8-cent fare. Interesting side notes, especially in view of what's happening now on Staten Island, after the Board of Estimate revoked 10 franchises of the firms on the grounds that they were not being run properly. They continued running anyway. Richmond Light reported it was losing $605 more daily with the 8-cent fare than under the old 5-cent fare, as the public was flocking to the bus lines run by the city.
Hi, I'm State Senator Diane Savino, and I proudly represent the North and East Shores of Staten Island and South Brooklyn. I want to congratulate ATU Local 726 on their 100th anniversary, 100 years of moving Staten Islanders to and fro, fighting against the traffic and fighting against the weather and just making sure people get to where they have to go. Congratulations to Danny Casella and all the officers and staff of ATU Local 726. But mostly I want to say congratulations to your Man of the Year, Larry Hanley. I've known Larry a very long time, and what I will say about Larry is no one works harder for working people than Larry Hanley. Congratulations to you and to all of the members of Local 726.
Good evening. I'm U.S. Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, and it's an honor to join you at the ATU Local 726's 100th anniversary celebration. I want to thank President Daniel Casella, the Executive Board, and all the members of Local 726 for all the great work you do. Tonight, we honor International President Lawrence J. Hanley, a former president of Local 726. From his beginnings on Staten Island to his global involvement with the union today, President Hanley's work on behalf of all transit workers shows us how the actions of just one single person can have an immense impact on our community. President Hanley, we are all so grateful for your advocacy and dedication to transit workers. Congratulations to all of Local 726 on your centennial year, and all the best for a memorable evening.
Hello, I'm Dave Ransom, former Local 726 union officer, vice president, and retired member of Local 726 for 35 years. Congratulations, Local 726, active and retired members, on our 100th anniversary. At a time that unions have been in decline, we are proud to be around 100 years and counting. The key to longevity in the union movement and our organization is to keep moving forward, organizing the members, the families, our passengers, and the community. We should continue our fight to improve transit services for Staten Islanders that collectively will help us all. And in doing so, we can celebrate our next anniversary, the 125th, of which I hope to be around. Thank you.
Suarez. Came on the job in 1974 and retired in 2002. I'd like to congratulate Local 726 for the Amalgamated Transit Union on their 100th anniversary.
In 1989, with President Hanley, I volunteered to get David Dinkins, the borough president of Manhattan, onto the ballot to run for mayor of the city of New York.
Hello, I'm Michael Maloney, and I was the Secretary, Treasurer, Recording Secretary of Amalgamated Transit Union Local 726. And I'd like to thank you and all the members on the 100th anniversary of Local 726 Amalgamated Transit Union. I was there for the 75th anniversary, and I'm pleasure to be here for the 100th anniversary of Local 726.
Larry convinced Borough President David Dinkins to run for mayor. We were successful in that campaign and helped us have some kind of power, if you want to call it that, getting other elected officials to see our view of the bus situation that we had on Staten Island. In 1986, me and Larry got together and got deeply involved in the union. And we started networking when he was president. We networked with the politicians and other labor leaders. The politicians were Elizabeth Conley, J.O. Donovan, John Markey, Bob Cernier. As you can see, they're both from Democrat and Republican. And we network with other unions late at night, visiting them in the city.
J.O. Donovan was a good friend to us, a very, very great friend to the ATU and to the riders who helped lead the effort for the $2 bus fare, was with the ATU in political battles and the franchises and everything else. And, you know, Jay was known for some O'Donovanisms. And Larry explained to him one day, you know, well, because Jay wanted to know, you know, all about the buses, express buses. And Larry told him, you know, we have big buses, we have little buses, and now we're getting buses that bend in the middle. And Jay just loved that. And Jay said, are they going to use the HBO lane? And Larry said, absolutely, and we're going to put cameras in the HBO lane. Well, look at this, 20 years later, and the cameras are in the HOV lane. So J.O. Donovan clearly was a good friend and a man way ahead of his time, and he left us way ahead.
Hi, my name is Tom Carney. I'm the Financial Secretary Treasurer of Amalgamated Transit Union Local 726 on Staten Island. I'm here to congratulate ATU Local 726 on its 100th anniversary, and I'm also here to congratulate Larry Hanley, the International President, who was the president that helped build this union to where it is today with 1,622 members. I'd also like to mention the political power that we gained during Larry's tenure as president of Local 726 for, I believe, 17 years. And we follow in his footsteps. We've learned everything about our political process in New York, and we continue to carry on his traditions.
My name is Charles Shasha. I came on the job on January 24th, 1966. Came right to Staten Island. I was broken in on Staten Island from the old timers here. We drove the old Max with no air conditioning, no power steering, and it was a little difficult working nights until we got seniority, and then we got used to being a bus driver with the passengers. Well, I worked many years on the job, enjoyed it. Got involved with the union for a while, became an officer with the membership, and then the third time I ran for election, I ran against Mr. Hanley and another bus driver, Tony Fiziola. Hanley had beaten us in the election for Secretary Treasurer, and he did me a favor. I worked 1 year and retired. If I would have won, I would have stayed. And that's all I have to say. Goodbye.
International Vice President Chuck Watson from Local 580 in Syracuse, New York. I want to extend congratulations to Local 26, or 726 on their 100th anniversary, and in particular congratulations to Larry Hanley, who has been, I knew him first as the president of 726, and he's moved up the ranks, and now he's international president of the ATU. I just want to remind Larry about a little trip that he took to Coleman's Irish Pub in Syracuse, New York at one of our conference board meetings. I think that he can expand on that and explain to you his experience there. He needed some assistance to get back to the hotel is about all I'm going to say about it, and let him fill you in on the details. Once again, congratulations to 726 on their 100th anniversary. I remember their 75th, and I hope they go for another 100 years, even though in all likelihood I won't be there, but congratulations then anyway. Thank you very much. Congratulations, Larry, Danny, the whole board at 726. You do a great job, and keep up the good work.
Hello, Staten Island. Congratulations on 100 years. Hello, Larry. My name is Steve Polonis, business agent, Local 85, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Congratulations on your 100 years. Let me just tell you a little story about Larry Hanley. I first met him in 2003. It was the hottest day of the year. Larry came into our office. We had a little vestibule. He sat down sweating profusely. But he had all kind of crazy ideas. And the more I talked to him, I said, this guy is never going to make it. He wants to buy horses, anything to make stuff happen. I'm thinking this guy's crazy. Now we have a camel. And it's worked out quite well. Larry, I want to thank you for all you did. Thank you for putting me on the Laws Committee. It was an interesting time with the joint councils and the service industries, and you're the right person for the ATU. Congratulations, and we'll see you.
Hi, my name is Hank Chicola. I started with the transit in 1967. I retired in 1991. I put in 24 years, and it was a good 24 years. One time I was working on 103, and I picked up a fellow on Highland Boulevard in Great Kills, and he was going to pick up his car at Star Pontiac, and by the time we got there, he was dead in the seat right behind me. And that was the thing that really stuck out in my mind all these years. But wow. That was the one thing that happened, but it did happen.
And I want to just thank everyone who's here this evening supporting Larry, because the notion of someone who wants to make change so deeply and is so in touch with the grassroots, becoming the president of an international union, is very powerful when you think about what that would mean for our city, our state, our country, for the labor movement. And, you know, Larry, to me, I first met him in a noble cause in 1989, and it was not a really great time to be the Staten Island coordinator for David Dinkins, and yet Larry Hanley took on that job. And I got many an anguished phone call late at night from Larry as he suffered the slings and arrows. But I can never remember a time in that fight or any other fight when Larry suggested anything but continuing to move forward. And he, I won't say he's impervious to pain, but it's extraordinary how focused and committed and willing this guy is to keep doing whatever it takes to change things for the better. And I saw it in political campaigns. I saw it in labor struggles. I think a lot of people in this room would agree that the future of the labor movement has to do with using the power of the movement more productively in the political process and getting back to organizing and improving on organizing victories of the past. And I can think of no one who understands that more than Larry and lives it and thinks it and breathes it and would know how to breathe life into the ATU and to help strengthen the rest of the labor movement. This is how he thinks. This is what he wakes up in the morning thinking about, and with extraordinary integrity. And I don't want you to think he is monk-like or ascetic. Larry has a pleasant, cynical sense of humor that he uses to grapple with the world around him. And he's one of those guys, remember what they used to say in 2004 with John Kerry and George Bush, which one would you rather have a beer with? And even though a lot of us wanted John Kerry to be president, we had to admit we'd rather have a beer with George Bush, potentially.
Not me.
Not you. But it would be interesting to have a beer with George. Really weird, but interesting. But Larry is a kind of human being who you want to have the beer with, and you want to think together with, and you want to be in the struggle with. And anyone who watches his work can immediately tell he's for real in a time where I think we all need leaders who are going to inspire us and strengthen us just by their example. So I'm just so happy to be a part of this. This is going to be a moment that really changes things. And let's now bring it home for Larry.
It's Guy Molinari talking to you, and I wish I could be with you tonight to celebrate the 2 anniversaries today. The one for ATU, the Amalgamated Transit Union, 100th anniversary. That's a wonderful thing. And my friend Larry Hanley, second. Larry's been around a long time, and we weren't always friends. We had some tussles in our day, but we are good friends today. I'm happy to be with you by television, and I'm happy to be able to pay tribute to this man who's done so much for the guys that he works for. There's nobody that felt more for his union guys than Larry. And I know that I was on the other side many times, but he proved to me what he was really all about. And the guys that have served with him owe him a lot because he's done so much for them. His heart was there all the time. I can recall some instances where, Larry, you and I didn't agree. But you were doing your job. And one time in front of Borough Hall, you were there with about 15 or 20 of your guys. And I was going across the street to McCain's headquarters to do some work for McCain. And there you were, bigger than life, as you usually are. And I walked over to you, and I stuck my finger in your chest and said something I don't even remember anymore. And your guys were ready to do battle with me. But I'm a little guy, and you're a lot bigger than I am, so I'm glad that nothing happened that day. But subsequently, we became good friends. I got to know you better, and I just admire you tremendously for the work that you do for your troops. And here you are many, many years later, being honored by the people that you served and served so well. Larry, I'm sorry I couldn't be with you because of my health. But I'm sorry that I can't be there, but I do want you to know that I respect you, I pay tribute to you, and I want to make sure that I can continue talking to you and being a good friend like we are now. Thank you very much. Good luck to you, my friend.
After Larry was promoted to the International, Angelo Tansi took over as president of our local. I became the treasurer, and with a great executive board, we would continue the visions of Larry Hanley going forward, and we were able to secure full benefits for our retirees, full spousal coverage after the member passed away. The wife would remain covered through the rest of her lifetime, which is a huge accomplishment in today's day and age with the unions being attacked. We continued pushing City Council and Governor for more funding to better Staten Island commuters. We needed more room in the depots. We ran out of room. We were able to secure a depot called Meredith Depot. Even though it was a smaller depot with only 80 buses coming out of, all express, it was only supposed to be a temporary stop gap, I guess you would want to call it, which though we turned it into a full-time depot now and a permanent depot. It houses 80 buses, all express buses going into Manhattan. Since then, we grew out of that depot also, where we wound up getting Charleston, our fourth depot on Staten Island. Charleston is comprised of both local and express buses. We have about 250 to 300 operators at that depot now and mechanics. And right now, we're almost at capacity with that depot. We've had talks about a fifth depot, which there's nothing concrete right now, but we do have talks in the pipeline. So hopefully we will be able to see a fifth depot. Also, since 2002, we've had our first union hall. First union hall in the history of this local, which obviously everyone knows by this video, we're 100 years old. So within 100 years, we were able to purchase a building started by Larry Hanley with the building fund at just 25 cents a paycheck. And that 25 cents evolved into purchasing our own building. We have 4 storefronts that we use, 2 of them rented out to Local 3, the electricians, 1 to Verizon workers, the communication workers on Staten Island, and numerous unions on Staten Island using our union hall for their union meetings and events. We've rented it out to politicians, have used it for caucuses. They've used it for town halls, and we continue to grow. And actually, we're the talk of Staten Island, where no other union has what we have today. So I want to thank Larry for having the vision of starting this building fund at just 25 cents, and Angelo expanding on that. We raised it to a lot more than that per week, and with that, we were able to purchase this building and go forward. We would love to be able to sell this and buy a bigger building in the future. I just want to say thank you to those of you that have helped put this wonderful event together, 100th anniversary of ATU Local 726. Our committee met numerous times, numerous weekends, and gave up a lot of their time to make sure that this night was a memorable one. So thank you to the committee. I want to thank Larry Hanley for his wisdom in having this union go forward. Angelo Tansi, I want to thank Angelo for all he did for this union. And Vinny Serapilia, who I actually still confide with regularly and go to many events, political events with him. I want to thank him, and Dave Ransom, who had a lot to do with this union going forward, and the building fund also. He had a lot to do with this, as he was Larry Hanley's vice president. So thank you to everybody. Thank you for coming to the event, and I'm looking forward to the next 100 years. If I'm not here, so be it, but somebody will be here in my place. Thank you.